Welcome back to the show. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. You're with Talk TV. Now, let's talk about, well, latest trans stories, because there always is one, isn't there? First up, a female security guard who's been awarded £15,000 in damages after bosses ignored her pleas to install a lock on a unisex bathroom door. Joining me now to discuss that and another story as well, Kellie-Jay Keen, founder of Standing for Women, an all-round heroine of mine. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Now, annoyingly, we've not got very much time for this, so we're going to race through this. But talk about this for security guard. It's Vanessa Abbas. She sued her employer, saying it was facing sex discrimination because she had to share unisex toilets, but it didn't have a lock on the door. This is just like really basic stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely insane. But I'm so delighted that she went for sex discrimination, because all too often we've seen sort of the lesser crime of different employment tribunals trying to wrestle with what the actual issue is. And I think all the time for women, when men are allowed in our spaces, whether they are men that call themselves women or just plain old men, I think it is sex discrimination. I'm so delighted that she's actually gone down this route.
Absolutely, and she was the only female security guard. They've got one basic bathroom and changing room for all the security guards. All the rest of them are men. And there's a loo there, but it hasn't got a lock on it. This is really basic stuff. The first time she asked, she should have gone, oh, yes, sorry, we didn't think of that. Funnily enough, women don't want men in their toilets. I know it's a mad idea, and we don't care what the men are wearing. We don't want men in our toilets. This is a really good victory for the unisex thing. Doesn't work for women. I don't think it works for most men either, by the way.
No, I agree. I'll be very brief, but I went to a theatre show in Bristol and the toilets had been changed from male and female to unisex, both of them.
They had.
And actually, the sex is just split. So the men went to the men's, what used to be the men's, and the women went to the women's, except two regular blokes.
Do you know what?
Who thought they'd skip the queue.
Do you know what? We had that. The office Christmas party a couple of years ago. It was in place, all unisex toilets, and all the women went, yeah, we're having the top one, F off. And all the men were perfectly happy. They didn't want to share loos with us either, because normal men don't want to do that, do they? Let's also talk about women being represented at the UN. The UN charity's appointment of a transgender model has been somewhat controversial. This is trans model Monroe Bergdorf, who is a biological male. Looks fabulous. I have met Monroe, looks fabulous as a woman, but not a woman, a biological male, that is a matter of fact, but has been chosen extraordinarily as the first UK champion for UN Women UK. I mean, there are what? I mean, 30, 40 million women in this country. We couldn't find a single real woman to represent us.
I'm going to be controversial here and say I'm outraged that they didn't pick someone like Monroe before, because the UN Women is absolutely full to the brim with men calling themselves women. I don't even know what the organisation's for. I think it should be defunded and should no longer exist. I think it's a big joke, and I think Monroe is just the icing on the very fetishy cake that it seems to represent.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm just as offended by the idea that someone who's just a model, and I mean, the idea that a model should be representing women in the UK, fake everything. I mean, could we have a woman who's achieved something, a scientist, an author, a doctor, someone who actually set up a business and employed people, as opposed to someone prancing down a runway with fake boobs on? I mean, whether they were actually a biological male or a female, they're still not representative of women in this country and of no ability. I don't know what Monroe Bergdorf can do to represent me or any other woman in this country.
No, it's a real shame. Look, I look at Monroe and I think that's an unrecognisable person. He's had so much work done, and I just can't imagine any woman being taken that seriously who'd had so much plastic surgery. So the whole thing is a mockery. But I do think he's quite fitting to represent the UN Women for this country, and so I hope it just piques more people and they see that actually the UN Women doesn't represent our interests at all.
No, it did. Oh, by the way, Ofcom will be unhappy that you've used the word he about a biological male, but Monroe Bergdorf may have fake everything and look like a very beautiful woman, but nevertheless is a biological male, and he is the correct pronoun for a biological male.
Well, of course. I hope that I haven't got you into any trouble, Julia.
Oh, I don't care
but
if you
I feel
have.
that you have the
Darling,
shoulders to manage
you and
such a
I
thing.
will crowdfund the fines. I really don't care anymore. We deal in facts on this show, and facts is fact. Always such a pleasure. Kellie-Jay Keen, founder of Standing for Women.